Pop, 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 pass the popcorn, 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 pass the popcorn.
Welcome to Alternate Ending, where we're discovering good movies one bad movie at a time. I'm your host, Carrie Jarasinski, and this is Pass the Popcorn, where we're joined by the coolest film lovers we know to talk about movies that are either so bad or so good that we can't wait to share them with you. Today, I'm joined by somebody very special, a man who's living two lives, as I've seen in recent photos, which we'll get to a little bit later. And I'm not sure which one is the better life to live. Both seem very exciting. I don't know, but we'll get there. It's me and Mr. Tim Brayton. Tim, welcome to the show.
Harry, thank you for welcoming me to the show, upon which I am always
here.
A guest, and indeed probably qualify as a co-host. But I appreciate your pre-show banter anyway.
It feels as though it's more like exciting if I welcome you in that way. Like,
that's true.
What if?
It's great to be here, Carrie. Thank you for having me. Glad to be a guest on this podcast, of which I know nothing.
Of which you know nothing at all. And happy Halloween-ish.
It is happy Halloween-ish. This episode's going live. We shouldn't make promises we don't know that we can keep, but going live the day before Halloween. So this is our spooky episode.
Yeah. I hope you're going to freak us out with something. I don't have anything scary, but I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to try to freak you out a little bit.
I've already shown you my two black cats.
That's
since
true.
This Zoom call started.
That's true. I can feel the bad luck rushing over me. Actually, I've been feeling pretty lucky. Actually, I'm just going to go right ahead and knock on some wood right now, because I have been feeling lucky.
Did your husband threaten to divorce you and to take the children?
No. You know what he did today? He did an act of service. Is that me that's dinging? I think that's better. Me. I'm so sorry. I turned off all my notifications. I'm still dinging. But we have like a little fire pit area with all the chairs. And today he just went out there and just muscled through, just pulled them all in, pulled the fire pit in. Because it's here in Wisconsin, it dropped from like 70 degrees. Today we're down to a balmy 30 something. So
the speed with which it ran from late summer storms to, guess what, there's snow, was faster than I expected, and I lived here my entire life. So yeah,
I'm not mentally prepared for it at all. And this could be a weird episode. Who knows? But I'm coming off a little bit of a bender from last night. I'm not exactly sure what a bender is. I think we've talked about this before, but I've forgotten. But I was up at about 3 o'clock this morning. This morning I woke up in New York City and arrived home around noonish. So I have a little bit of that sort of jet lag fatigue of like, am I tired? Am I feeling weird? I don't know energy right now.
Well, the question is, did you consume alcohol in New York?
Not very much. Not very much.
Then it was not. Well, did you consume other substances in New York?
Not very much.
Did you take a skiing trip while you were there, if you know what I mean?
I still don't know what that means. No, I don't think I did. Is that like a shot?
Cocaine is powder. And so you
no.
You call this okay?
No, I definitely didn't do that.
I think that's
either.
like 40 years out of date slang too. So don't ever repeat it in front of people.
That tracks. I won't. Sometimes I do that and I get strange looks and I'm like, it's never mind.
The point being, if chemicals did not go into your body, we're not on a bender.
Okay. Well, then I just woke up early. I just woke up early today. And I did have the epiphany when I woke up in New York this morning, again at 3 o'clock in the morning, that I'm old, that I'm very old. And I'll tell you why. So when I did have to wake up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, it's all a bit of a blur. I did have this realization that I've become a curmudgeonly old woman, because in New York, as you know, because you were sending me text messages, which we'll get to at 2 o'clock in the morning, people are still awake in New York at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Is New York the city that never sleeps, or is that?
It is.
Chicago.
It is. And I just thought it was a phrase. But as I was laying there in bed and I could just hear people laughing. People were laughing and chatting and screaming and making all these noises outside. And I just wanted to like yell out the window, like, shut up, Get off my lawn. Like I had to get off my lawn moment where I'm like, who doesn't realize how rude this is that there's people that are trying to sleep at this hour?
And if you can trust anyone not to be rude, it's a New Yorker.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, where are your manners, children? Where are your manners? And then when we got up in the morning to actually have to go, we had to be out of the hotel at 4 a.m. So we were up before that, out at 4 a.m. We get into the elevator and it's like the saddest thing you've ever seen. It's like there's just like a sad Dracula girl, like her makeup sort of like smearing down her face. And it's like, you know, the guy who's dressed as like, you know, a basketball player and like all of these people are still in their costumes. It's 4 o'clock in the morning and they're all like kind of still coming and going, but it's clearly the people who should have gone home 2 or 3 hours sooner because they're really going to feel it that day. And I just want to be like, hey, you made this choice. Like
you made this choice. That is how I embraced being an old curmudgeon. I was always an old curmudgeon at heart my whole life, but it was after I turned 40 that I was like, no one can like judge me for being an old curmudgeon. Now I get to just do this and have this be the way I inhabit the world. So no, I would be perfectly fine with making it illegal to be in your 20s.
Yeah.
At this point.
You're so, again, this is the vast majority of our listenership. So I apologize so much in advance, but like, I just realized you're kind of a dummy. You're kind of a dummy in your 20s. And I say this with love because I was such a dummy. Like I was that sad Dracula. Like I was the cowboy that was like meandering down the street and being like held up by Rob like on the way home. And it's like, this just never ends well. And you just want to be like, you know what? I'm going to breeze through this next day. I'm not going to have a headache. I'm not going to throw up at the airport. None of those things are going to happen. But you, Mr. Banana Man that's dressed as a banana, you're going to be hurting tomorrow for, or at least for 48 hours based on.
You're going to have a splitting headache, banana.
Oh my gosh. If I had only thought of that, I would have said that to the guy in the lobby. What a miss. What a miss. But anyway, I was feeling very, very old, but then I got your picture at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was one of the better moments of my life. So I'd love to hear about your night.
I sent at 8 p.m.
Oh, you did?
I sent that picture at like 8:30.
Oh, okay.
Or something like
it came through at 2 a.m. and I was like, whoa, Tim's getting a little wild here. I thought it was maybe a crazy night for you.
No, it was just a Halloween party. I had 2 beers.
Ooh.
And I was like, honestly, I should have stopped before the second beer was done because it gave me a headache because that's how old I am. If I have 2 drinks, I get a headache.
I know. It's very sad. That's another reminder to people. Just know what's coming. But tell us a little bit about the picture. Describe it a little for me that you sent.
I would actually prefer to hear you describe it, Carrie, because I know what I was for Halloween.
Sure.
It took me a very long time. So I am like just the worst at coming up with Halloween not decorations, costumes. I have not once in my adult life, I stopped getting dressed up for Halloween at like 12 or 13. And then I started again under duress in college. Not once since that time, since I was in college and picked it back up again. I mean, we're talking about curmudgeons, so here I'm just being one. I have never come up with a good costume. The only good costumes I've ever had in that 20-ish years have been ones that were group costumes where someone else told me what to be. When I am like required to come up with a costume, they're always just absolute horrible, bad ideas because I don't like costumes. And I was so proud of myself because I came up with my own idea for a costume this year.
And I'll tell you.
It took me until so this was the 28th was the party. It took me until the 25th to come up with this idea, but I made it happen.
I think it was a good one. I'll say I love the wordplay. I think, or the clever wordplay, the pun, I guess, as you were, works very, very well for me. So when I woke up in the morning and saw this at 3 o'clock in the morning, I had a text message. I'm like, oh, who could this be? It's probably them telling to check into my flight or something like that. But no, it was one Tim in a beautiful, beautiful blue gown. And I was like,
oh, I shouldn't call it a gown, but thank you very much for trying to talk me up.
A frock, a gown, whatever you want to call it, a beautiful one. And I was a bit startled at first, only because I was like, I didn't recognize you quite at first. Not only I would have recognized you if it was just the dress, but you had a bit of a reddish hue.
I had painted my face and the top sides of my hands. My hands got washed very quickly because I wanted to be able to like interact with the world. But for the purposes of the picture, I did have my hands painted bright red, bright candy apple red. And I had those little devil horns on because I was a devil in a blue dress.
Oh my gosh. Just perfect.
Which learned something.
Yeah.
The song Devil in a Blue Dress is apparently not ubiquitous in a way that I thought it was.
Don't even tell me.
Because to begin with, well, my father, born in 1952, so alive when the song was a hit, my father had to have the song played for him. My mother told him I was going as a devil in a blue dress, and he was like, what on earth is that? A couple of very good friends of mine in my grad student program were like, well, that's such a strangely specific Denzel Washington movie, because there's a Denzel Washington crime movie from 1995 called Devil in a Blue Dress. Why would you go as that title of such a like obscure flop Denzel Washington movie? And then at the party, like half the guests had to be explained that Devil in a Blue Dress was a song. And not just me sort of having the caprice of being a devil who was also wearing a blue dress.
Are you being serious right now?
I was confused and scared and thrown because I thought it was a song that was just like part of the heritage of America.
No, I actually did know that. So I'm on the side of your friends of actually knowing that. I thought you meant that it had some sort of connotation that we didn't know, that it was like, I don't know, like that song. Remember Blueberry Hill? It's like, I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill. You remember that song?
I do.
And
I'm confused by what you're going for.
Do you know what that means?
Having sex?
Yeah, I sang that song all the time when I was a kid. I didn't know what the thrill was when I was a kid. How embarrassing. I probably sang that song 1,000 times in front of my parents.
Every song is about sex.
Not the ones I sang as a kid. I used to sing that in the car all the time. I'm sure my parents were just like looking at it, giving each other the side eye as their like 7-year-old just is singing over and over again about thrills on hills. And I am mortified. So I thought maybe that's the direction you were going, was that it like meant something weird. But no, I knew that that's what it was.
That's what I'm saying. I was just so baffled that people were like if I sang a song, I sang a few beats of the song, and some people were like, oh, sure, of course. And a few people were like, no, I never heard that.
Oh,
it's like, how have you never heard Devil? And I actually, the song is titled Devil with a Blue Dress, but I don't think that's the distinction people were getting confused by.
I totally know that song. I could sing it right now, but I won't, because the last time I just tried to sing like 10 seconds ago, I heard it in my own ears, and I won't do it again. But
that is a legitimate choice.
I know. It's a good song, but I loved it. I applaud your creativity. And then Thank you. Partner who was taking your photo, he was
a wolf in sheep's clothing.
A wolf in sheep.
So he had a sheep
cute.
Onesie and a little plastic wolf mask. And I was alone at this. Actually, no, the host and hostess of the party, my partner's sister and her fiance, they were in makeup. Other than that, I was the only person in makeup, so I felt very good about my level of commitment to the bit.
Absolutely should. And did you
I had to shower twice to get it all off? It's still a little bit there. My red's a little pink still. My neck's a little pink.
It's just like a nice amount of color. I think it's actually kind of nice. Did you have to help him come up with the costume, or did he come up with that on his own?
No, he came up with his like in September, and that's why the fact that it took me until October 25th to come up with mine, I just felt like an absolute buffoon that I couldn't come up with anything. I got stuck on what if I wore an egg costume and devil horns and one is a deviled egg, but I couldn't figure out how to do the egg costume. And then after like a week of that, I was like, what other things can have devil? And then I like immediately landed on devil with a blue dress.
So I'll share with you, I come from a long line of deviled eggs. I have gone as a deviled egg in my costume history. And I'll tell you what you do. You take I'll send you a photo of that. So in exchange, I'll send you a photo of me as a deviled egg because it was amazing. But it's just poster board. Just cut the poster board and then 2 strings on both sides. So I've got a back end that's white and then the front end has the yolk. So then everybody knows. It's sort of like one of those street signs when you're selling things. And you just
that would make it a square-shaped egg.
You cut the edges into like a little bit of a ripple, you round the edges a bit. Honestly, best costume I ever had. So you can borrow it next time. I probably have saved
I mean,
it.
now I have the devil horns, so I could possibly
That's right. That's right. Well, I feel ashamed. Our costume this year is terrible. Every year, Rob goes completely over the top, and we do some sort of family themed situation. One year it was like worst fears, and I was like trapped in a giant snake costume. Another year I had to go as Catwoman, but like I couldn't find a cat mask, so I was wearing my kid's mask, so it looks like I have like a shrunken head on top of like a spandex situation that was very unflattering. Every year it's terrible. This year we've decided to go themed as the Stranger Things cast. So I will be going as Robin, who you probably don't know. She is the lesbian ice cream scooper, one of my favorite characters in the entire show. Rob will be going as Steve, who's the heartthrob. No surprise there.
Mm-hmm.
Alice is going to go as 11. She's the bald alien or whatever she is. And then Abby's going as why do I always forget her name? The cool one, the redhead who's really cool. I can't think of her name right now.
I don't know from Stranger Things.
I know you don't. I won't put you on the spot. And then our dogs are going as Demodogs, which essentially are the monsters. So we've got these amazing little like hoodies that they're going to wear. And then they're going to be like, rah! Like there's these like fangs that are coming out from all the sides. And we get these costumes on for like 7 seconds before the dogs eat theirs. Somebody gets hot, somebody takes something off, but just enough time to get that amazing family picture.
Sure, of course.
And then it's all worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta do that while you can, because at some point you're not going to be able to. The eldest is not going to want to keep doing group costumes with her mom and dad. So you better.
I disagree.
Better take advantage of that every year.
I don't know. She's got a lot of Rob's jeans in there. She's got a lot of them in there. And Rob's never taken a year off in all of his 40. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. I'll send pictures when I have it. But yeah, nevertheless, I'm excited for Halloween this year. It's going to be a good time. And I'm excited to hear a little bit about what you've been watching, because it's been a little bit hectic on my end, but it sounds like you've maybe caught a few movies.
I have. I'm back on the wagon a little bit. You might have noticed, you being, not you, Carrie, but you being our readership who actually pay attention to the reviews I post on the site. I have written reviews again for the first time since like July. I've written multiple reviews in a 48-hour window. And part of what I'm trying to do to make that happen is I'm trying to catch up on the horror movies of 2023 that I missed first time around, or the ones that are actually kind of newish, just because it's that season. So I figured, well, I'll just cram a bunch of horror movies in before Halloween. So the two I'm going to bring are two that are fairly new. One that opened a couple weeks back. I believe it was the film that opened the week before Taylor Swift took over the world and is now available on streaming. That is Exorcist Believer, the, depending on how you are counting, 5th or 6th Exorcist film.
Oh my gosh.
And then a film that opened day and date on Peacock, which is how I was able to see it, because I was surely not going to see this movie in theaters right away. Five Nights at Freddy's, which is a movie about robots from a video game that are Chuck E. Cheese. And it's I will flatly say, I don't know the video games, and the movies are just straight up incoherent if you don't know the video games. Like I was baffled. It was like I was trying to watch a Hungarian art film. So those are the two films I'm going to chat about a little bit. But definitely going to be continuing to press through with these last couple days of October to watch as many horror films as I can. So keep an eye out for reviews of those on the site as well.
All right. I did see that you had a couple reviews out there, and I did read them. So I'll spot you that.
You must have just been absolutely lost by what the hell I was talking about in the Once Within a Time review.
It was a bit of a skimmer. I mean, I was like, I'm not exactly sure what's happening in this review, but I was just eager for a little bit of your content. So I did read through it a bit. But yeah, on my end, it has been, I decided, part of me was like, we were gone. We were in New York all week. I couldn't possibly have really seen movies very easily. And so part of me was like,
famously bad city to see movies in New York.
I know. And that's what they said. Like there's too many other things to do, but I did catch 2 theatrical performances. And I was like, You know what? I want to share those with Tim. I was like, I got to tell you about them because I had such a good time. I want to hear
about this. I will also say, if we're talking about non-film media, I have one other thing I want to talk about, but I'm curious to hear what shows you saw.
Okay. So I'll back up just slightly. We didn't tell the girls we were going to New York. It was 100% a surprise. So they woke up that morning and we literally were like, pack your bags. We're leaving to go somewhere. And then we got a little bit of a video of it. Rob and I got into a little bit of a scuffle on the video. I'm like, great. I wanted this like memory. And like we both had gone back and forth about how not to spoil it. And so apparently I spoiled it. I was like, pack your bags for the plane. And Rob's like, the plane? We weren't going to tell them we were going on a plane. We weren't going to say anything. And we're going back.
So I want to put a pin in this for just a second.
Yes.
Why New York? What was going on in New York? Any particular thing?
No. We had ticket credits that were going to expire in the end of the year. And we're like, let's go. And the girls had Thursday and Friday off school. So we're like, let's just make it a long weekend.
Cool. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because the other thing I wanted to ask was, so I'm a 9-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just pretend.
Okay.
And it's almost Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And I am told we're going on a surprise trip. Guess what? Hooray. I suspect the first place my mind goes is Disney World. And I'm wondering if New York was a crushing disappointment when that became revealed. It's New York.
Yes.
And their children.
No. So that's the thing. This is my worry about our children and their growth and development. I think it's a huge problem. They're so spoiled. So like they've gone to Disney now because their grandparents live in Florida. They've done Universal.
Oh, sure.
So for them, New York was on the top of their bucket list. Like they've wanted to go there forever. They're just a little like old soulish. Like Abby, like our oldest, just like loves to like shop. They do love theater. Like they love plays. They love musicals. They love all of that. And so I just think it was like the wonder of like what's there that they've always been excited about.
And I guess I'm bringing some of my own baggage to this. I hate New York. Like I find it to be just an absolutely inhuman city that I will never return to for the rest of my life. So like to me, it's not a pleasure. It's not like a treat to go to New York. It's more like, guess what, fucker? I'm going to make you go to New York for 4 days because I hate you. And it's like, okay,
this is punishment. I'm taking you to the worst city in the world. It has some things that are downsides for me for sure.
Well, like all those young people dressed as bananas. Yeah. And you probably think that was a Halloween thing. I think that's just what the youths in New York do.
I think it's just Saturday.
Wander around as fucking bananas.
I think so too. People leave their garbage just everywhere. Like
there are like dumpsters and alleys in New York. It's the only city I'm aware of where you just put your trash on the sidewalk. And it's like, how do people live here? How do human beings live in this environment?
It is, but it's also just people being trashy. So people are just dropping their trash. So when we left in the morning, it was just like the streets were completely covered, which means the city, because it's not so, I mean, it's dirty, but not nearly as dirty during the day, which means every night they're just coming out and just like massively cleaning all of this stuff. And you're like, put in the freaking garbage, people. Like, it's just like common courtesy here. Put in the garbage and go home before noon or before midnight so that I don't hear you screaming and can go to sleep. But anyway, yeah, it's not on the top of my list either. I don't mind going for a few days, but I'm absolutely ready to go home at the end of those few days. But we went out and we didn't tell them anything that we were doing when we were there. And we had pre-booked a couple things. So they got to see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child on Broadway. Okay. So much to say about that. And then we also caught Sweeney Todd as well.
Oh, I didn't realize there was a production of that up right now. That's cool.
My gosh.
Who was in it?
Well,
you're going to tell me. You're going to talk about these, so I'll find out.
Yes. So those are my two. I'm going to tell you a little bit about those two.
Okay.
So do you want to go first or do you want me to?
I will go first. And I'll also, like I said, I want to add in, as long as this is a movies plus episode of our movie themed podcast, I just want to talk about in this week, I have treated myself to a new video game. It is the new video game in the Mario Brothers series. So if you're a Switch owner, you've probably seen push notifications for it and such. It is Super Mario Brothers Wonder. It is a Mario Brothers 2D platformer game, very old school, clearly first and foremost taking its cues from Super Mario World, the 1991 Super Nintendo game. And I'm finding it to just be pleasurable. Like, it's not demanding anything of me. It's not so hard that I ever feel frustrated by it. It's nice bite-sized little pieces of game. So like you can play it for 10 minutes and feel like you accomplished something and then sit it down. I have not had this good of a time with a video game in a couple of years. And I think a big part of that is just because it is an archaic style of game for old people. And as someone who was playing video games in the 80s and 90s, it's scratching to the itch that I have there, and I just feel really good about it. So Super Mario Brothers Wonder, thumbs up from Tim Brayton, if anyone cares about my opinions on video games.
That is fantastic. I will also say I also played Nintendo. I played that game at the Nintendo store when I was in New York, and I cannot agree more. They have like all these consoles set up, and you can go around and just like demo them. And
I miss that. That used to be something we could do. Remember, they have like video games just like at the mall, and you can go play video games at the mall.
Yes. Only now they only give you like, then you could just like camp out the entire day. Now they're like, I'm going to give you level 1, and then when you beat it, it's like bah, bah, bah. You have to go back to the beginning, and you're like, no, I want more. So then you buy it. But I did play that game with Abby, and I had the exact same feeling. So this is probably going to turn everybody off to it, but same thing where I was like, oh, I really need like 2 buttons to do this, and I can jump.
Well, you need the third. You need a third button. It's like, oh my god, when's the last time a video game only needed 3 buttons?
Zero mental capacity.
A AAA.
Yeah. Zero mental capacity, and just like zone into it. You can just like totally enjoy it.
And you make Mario turn into an elephant. And you can play as all the characters, so you can make Princess Peach or a Toad turn into an elephant. It's
exactly. I think we may have added it to our kids' Christmas list. They were like, they wanted it, and I was like, no, we're not buying you anything. So we took a picture of it, and it's going to probably come for Christmas. So
okay,
yeah, but I like that too. Good game.
Yeah. Movie-wise, though, not quite as satisfying an experience as returning to my video game roots with a 2D Mario. So the films, as I said, that I'm bringing to the table are The Exorcist Believer and Five Nights at Freddy's. I will try to go through both of them fairly quickly so we can hear about your thing, and also because, frankly, these are not movies that I'm going to recommend you see. Starting with the one I saw first, the one that released first, The Exorcist Believer is the result of what is clearly going to have turned out to be just a catastrophic decision. Universal paid $400 million not to make this movie, for the rights to make a movie with The Exorcist in the title.
You're joking.
$400 million for the rights to the Exorcist brand name that is attached to a 3-picture deal. So in theory, we're going to get 2 more Exorcists. I don't know. This one made more money than it cost. If you break out the 400 million, the film itself only costs like 20 million. It's going to make like 140 worldwide. So it's going to turn a profit as a film. It is clearly not going to come even close to taking out its share of that 400 million debt.
Yeah.
That is already sort of baked into this. It's only
going to slide
franchise
after that too. I mean, this is going to be like, it's going to depreciate more for 2 and 3 for sure.
That seems very likely, because this one sucked. It is a bad, unlikable movie that I cannot fathom someone walking out of it and feeling this was a good use of my time. I feel the things I want out of an exorcism movie were fully satiated by this movie, Exorcist Believer. Handed off to David Gordon Green and his collaborators, the team that made the Halloween movies, the recent ones, Halloween 2018, and then Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. So my feeling about David Gordon Green, a filmmaker that I used to respect deeply back in the early 2000s, there's one thing we know he cannot do, and that is to make a legacy sequel to a great 70s horror film. And we knew that from the Halloween movies, which are bad. And Exorcist is maybe worse than any of them are. I don't know. The third Halloween is really terrible, but it's just this dismally boring and stupid film in which, so it starts with these 2 girls, and I have the cast pulled up. I should say the girls are let's see, Lydia Jewett and Olivia O'Neill go off into the woods one day to just play and have whatever shenanigans 12-year-old girls get into in the woods, and they disappear. And then several days later, they are found, and they only remember being gone for a couple of hours, and it's all very confusing. And we discover, sort of along with their parents, one of whom is played by Leslie Odom Jr. He's playing a widower whose wife died during an earthquake when she was giving birth to the child very complicated backstory. But he is agnostic or atheist. The other family are religious conservatives. This is set in Georgia. And they figure out before he does, well, this certainly does seem like our daughters have been possessed by a demon. So they have to exorcise those demons. And in order for that to happen, Leslie Odom Jr. will have to become a believer. Right? So it's an exorcism movie, and exorcism movies are all the same movie. That's kind of part of the thing. They try to fancy it up by having 2 possessed girls rather than the standard 1 possessed girl of exorcism movies. And that's stupid, but it's fine. Like, okay, whatever. It's the 5th Exorcist movie. You got to do something to make it snazzy. The other thing they do is to make it basically about how you can host an exorcism in any religion or no religion at all. And that's not accurate, because exorcisms are like a very pointedly Catholic thing. And so it's just this really weird, like mushy, there's demons and you need to believe in the demons, but sort of your belief doesn't actually matter. So it's very confused, very chaotic, like a lot of unnecessary characters. And in amongst doing all of this, it drags in Ellen Burstyn, who played the mother of the possessed girl in the first Exorcist and appeared in none of the sequels. She had the very good sense to never come back for an exorcism movie. But they gave her a ton of money. So she shows up for like 8 minutes of screen time, during which basically nothing is achieved with her character. She's basically just there to be like, yeah, I remember there was another exorcism once 50 years ago. And that's kind of her role. And I don't wish to spoil this movie terribly much, but about midway through, the only so spoiler alert for Exorcist believer. The only thing that ever happens that is violent is that Leslie Odom Jr.'s daughter stabs out Ellen Burstyn's eyes with a crucifix.
Sure.
So that's it.
Does
they
she
bring her
make it,
back to
or
have
is
her
that-
eyes stabbed out. It's this is not a
And then she's
use
gone.
of Ellen Burstyn's time that I respect or wanted to see in a movie. So it's infuriating when it's not very boring. And it has just the sloppiest exorcism scene I think I've ever seen in a movie. And that's incredible, because exorcism scenes are very formulaic. They're not hard to do. And this movie just completely screws it up. So dreadful experience. Hated, liked none of it, hated well over half of it. I'd say is sort of my summary version of The Exorcist Believer.
What's the what number is this in total for the entire Exorcist?
So there's The Exorcist, The Exorcist 2, and The Exorcist 3.
Okay.
And then there is a prequel, but they made the prequel twice.
Fair.
So it's maybe the 5th and it's maybe the 6th. Are we counting the prequel as 1 movie or 2 movies? You sort of have to make that decision.
Wait, so they made it into 2
It is
movies?
the 6th release.
There's 2 prequel, like a part 1 and part 2 to the prequel.
No, they remade, they made it and they were unhappy with it, so they
okay.
remade it
Got it,
before
got it,
they
got it.
released it. But then the remake was so badly received that they were like, well, we also have this other one ready to go. Do you want us to release that one instead? So the 2 prequels are replacements for each other, in a sense.
I just don't understand any of this. Where does anybody say that if, the last 2, your batting average is so low already on these coming out?
Oh yeah,
of,
there's only
basically
been
the
one
first
good
one.
Exorcist
Yeah,
movie,
exactly.
bluntly.
Coming out of the first one, what makes you say, yeah, let's pay $400 million for this? And where does that money come from that people pull together to say, yeah, let's just give this a go? And again, just to literally buy the rights, to put multiple millions of dollars more into it, to not then, it is possible to make a good movie. So then it's you have to know when you have the output of this movie, if it's as bad as you're saying, which I believe that it is, that it's bad. So I just don't understand why, if you're putting that much into it, that there wouldn't be the most work going into bringing it into something that's really good, that's actually going to be something that people get excited about seeing. I just don't, it doesn't compute for me.
I think there's a level of cynicism. I think there's this thought of, well, if we get Ellen Burstyn to show up and we'll just dump money on her. I'm pretty sure she was the highest paid member of the cast, even though she's only in 8 minutes of the film. If we just dump money on Ellen Burstyn, everyone's going to come back because they'll be like, it's an Exorcist movie with Ellen Burstyn. That's exciting. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just the calculation. I think there's a belief that the quality is irrelevant because people just want to sort of have these little gut punches of nostalgia. And I'm pleased to know that the studio is taking a bath on it. I'm pleased to know that this cynical decision backfired on them, and they're getting screwed by it.
Yeah.
I feel good about that.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, I will skip it. I don't know that I've actually even seen the first one yet. I always forget if I haven't seen Poltergeist or Exorcist. I've seen one of them, but I always forget which one I've seen. I think I've seen.
Have you seen the one with the TV?
I've seen the one with the little girl. Where
they both have little girls.
Oh shoot. I've seen the one with the little cute girl, little blonde cute girl.
I don't believe that Linda Blair is blonde, so you've seen the Poltergeist.
Poltergeist. Oh yeah. So I should just catch The Exorcist then. I should just watch the first one.
It's a very important movie. It's classic. Do you like exorcism movies? Have you seen exorcism movies?
I think so. I like a good exorcism here and there. Yeah.
I think you would enjoy the first one.
Do you think my kids could watch it?
No.
No.
It's scary. No.
It's
very, very vulgar movie.
Oh, it is. Okay. You're saying that. This must be really, I'm not sure I should watch it.
It's like being vulgar is sort of a very important point.
Okay.
Is the thing. Part of what is meant to be shocking is that we're watching this little 12-year-old girl say horrible things.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe I'll give it a try. I
think it's worth it. I think it's a good time.
I'm going to binge some horror tonight, tomorrow, everything leading up to Halloween. So maybe I'll add it to the list. So skip that one. And then what was the other one you saw?
Well, did we want to talk about one of yours or do we want to talk about my other one first?
Okay, I'll go to mine. Would you rather hear about Cursed Child or Sweeney Todd?
I want to hear about both of them, but I want to save Sweeney Todd. So let's talk about Cursed Child because I will never see that.
Okay. Wait, you'll never see Cursed Child?
No.
Oh, I don't know. I kind of feel like you should.
I mean, if they make a movie version of it, I'd see the movie version. I'm not a Harry Potter guy.
I know. I don't think you need to be. I mean, I am a Harry Potter guy, but I still don't think that you need to be. This performance was outstanding. So we told the girls in advance, we've got two things. They're very different, and we're not sure which one you're going to like more. They're huge Harry Potter junkies. And
I cannot imagine suspecting that your adolescent Harry Potter fan children would like Sweeney Todd more than the Harry Potter play.
Well, there's a reason, and I'll get to that. Or did I already say it? I'm blurring what I've already said. So the first one, we're so excited. We didn't even tell them we were going. We're dressed up like weirdos walking down the street. They're mortified because they're like, nobody in this town is dressed up. We're like wearing dress shoes and dresses because I wanted like the full experience. Like I wanted them to
you wanted absolutely everyone in Times Square to know you were an out of town tourist. You wanted to wear a giant fucking neon flashing hat saying pickpocket me.
I had a I Love New York hat on with my dress. We're all walking hand in hand, 4 deep, down the road. But yeah, we turn the corner and their eyes just go like saucers. Like they were just so freaked out, excited. Like they were so excited. And my daughter's read all the books, like 8 billion times, and has read The Cursed Child as well. So if there's something that my oldest daughter loves to do is know more than everybody else in the room. Again, replica of Rob. So none of us know anything about what's going to happen, but she knows because she knows the entire thing. She is just like a girl on fire. Like she is just like, yes, like I'm so excited. So we go into this first out of the gate, like the theater itself, just the experience of being there is just beautiful. It's this old theater, but it's big. The set in this, the best way that I could describe the show is it's an optical magic show layered into a play. So like there are optical illusions that are happening throughout this entire play that it feels like a magic show. The way that they are able to choreograph the movements throughout the stage, like people are just disappearing and vanishing in midair. And you just don't know, you don't get it. So the whole thing is just sort of shock and awe on top of just amazing performances as well. And the set pieces, gosh, it's so hard to describe it. The set pieces, the way they've got it set up also is an optical illusion so that like it feels as though they're changing the set in and out literally within seconds, but it's all lighting. So like they have it so well lit that like, the back goes in completely black. There's no curtain, but the way that the lighting is, it's just highlighting other things. So it feels like they're moving throughout like a castle, or they're moving to a graveyard. Like they're moving to all of these places and they're literally changing almost nothing. It's the most bizarre experience. The stage itself is like it's not even an optical illusion. The stage itself has like all these like drops to it. So like people are disappearing, people are coming out of like pools of water, like people are going up and down. It's just such an overwhelming, like overstimulating experience.
Okay.
But we didn't know, I won't tell you the twist. So if you haven't seen it, we didn't know the twist. So Abby.
Well, the twist is that it's a 2-part play, and if you only get one ticket, you're only seeing half the story, isn't that?
We saw both parts. So we saw both.
Okay.
We saw both. So that's the other thing. This thing is like 3.5 hours long. So Rob's attention span for this stuff is very short. So at like hour 45, we're kind of like, when is this thing wrapping up? And then I thought maybe they were just going to push through and have no intermission because it was like an hour and 45. Nope. Lights roll on and they're like, come back in 15 minutes. We're like, what? It was like I think it was like 7 to 10 or 10:30 show.
Shows are long. Shows are
long.
3 hours. People get grouchy if you only have like a 2-hour show. They're like, why did I pay $130 for this 2-hour show?
Exactly. So we just had spent so much money on snacks, basically, because we were just trying to like keep everybody full. We had like not eaten enough. We didn't know how long we'd be there, but when the twist is revealed, like I'll have core memory locked in my brain. Like when the twist is revealed of what happens, like I look over to get Abby's reaction. She's just staring at me. She's just like looking at, because all she wants is like, what is my shock going to be? And she is
right, because she's the one who read it.
She's read it. So she knows. And we're all like, like, oh my gosh. And she's just like literally like physically bouncing in her chair because she's just like, so excited.
That's cute.
And it was so cute. So this is, again, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. If you have kids, honestly, there were adults there without kids, but if this is something that you're wondering, like the age group to take kids for, like I would say, 8 to 12, 8 to 13 is like a perfect sweet spot for the magic. But I will also say, from adult eyes, Rob and I were just like completely blown away, like just by the visuals of it. So we saw that one first before Sweeney Todd, which I don't know if maybe the order was a little bit out of order. We weren't sure, but highly, highly recommend that if there's a way to catch it or if it comes out on video, like it'll be good too. But it was really a spectacle. I was very impressed with it.
Okay. I will see if it rolls around into Madison's Broadway touring theater at some point. And it will undoubtedly suck if it does, because it's not a good space for seeing like
it
that
won't.
kind of
Not
show,
for because it's the magic of it that's the best, but still worth it to see.
Okay, cool. Well, for my follow-up, I would also say that the target audience for this is potentially people around the age of 12. I don't really know, honestly. I'm sort of trying to guess. So Five Nights at Freddy's, I knew this. I knew it was a video game franchise. Started about 10 years ago, 2014. And I knew that the nature of the video games was that you were a security guard monitoring like Chuck E. Cheese robots gone amok. And that's the, I'd say, extent to which I knew anything about the games at all. My impression has been that they're not fun to play. Mm-hmm. My impression has been sort of throughout their fan base is less, I mean, people play them because they're games. My impression is that people watch videos of them being played. And that's like a cultural thing.
I don't understand it, but yes.
Do your children have any, like, I think they might be on the young side for it. I'm not exactly sure where the age cutoff is for Five Nights at Freddy's.
I don't know. They haven't seen it, but like,
not the movie, but like the video games.
I'm not sure. I'd have to ask
the
them.
YouTube videos of the video games being played. Have they seen any of these?
I'll have to ask, but I know they have watched some, like watching other play video games, but I'm so judgy about it. I'm like, why are you watching somebody else play a game? It bothers me. I don't know why. It
bothers me too.
I don't, like, we're old though. Again, it's a cool thing for people that are cool. I just like, I'm so annoyed. I'm like, go make the slime. Go play the video game. Go do the thing. Don't watch somebody else do it. Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, and I assume when you were a kid as well, there was sort of this understanding, like, you play video games a little bit, but it's awfully lazy behavior to just play video games. And if you're playing video games, you should probably get off the couch and walk around and go, do stuff. Like, there was this sense that, like, playing video games was kind of a thing that couch potatoes did, right?
Absolutely.
And we have somehow arrived at a cultural point where the playing of the video game itself is too much effort.
Yeah.
So
it's too
we're going
stressful.
to let other people on our behalf play a video game because the thought of holding a plastic bauble and pushing buttons on it is too taxing.
It's too tedious. Yeah. This is my exact feeling. I'm like, if you were going to watch somebody play Fortnite, the game's gone. I'm taking your game away. I'm throwing it away. Like, you go kill people. I don't want to see anybody else kill people.
People make millions upon millions of dollars a year. There are like $80 million fortunes based on I'm good at being the person who people watch playing video games.
Yeah. It's a society I don't
comprehend this.
I don't either. But everybody, many people that are listening right now are in the camp of my children. So
I need to know what's wrong with your brain. I need to know, like, were you exposed to toxic chemicals as a toddler? Like, what happened to you?
I don't know.
Answer comments.
We're in the minority, though. That is for sure. But yes. So this movie is based on that.
This movie is based on the video game series. In what capacity, I do not know. So it's Sunday. I learned on Wednesday that there's lore. I was like, oh, so you're just like, oh no, the robots are scary. Because I mean, you and I went to Chuck E. Cheese as children. They were scary. These robots were scary. They sucked. I hated them.
Yeah.
So I'm on board, right? Like, what if they got off of their podia and walked around and chewed on your face? That's a hook. I'm on board with it.
Yeah, same.
I thought that was what the games were, which is like you're at a fake Chuck E. Cheese at night, sort of a Night at the Museum series. There's like an insane industrialist who murders children, and there's ghosts, and there's like sometimes the robots are the villains, but sometimes they're like your allies. I knew none of this.
Yeah,
I had no clue until Wednesday of this week that there was like a mythology for Five Nights at Freddy's. So the movie, which maybe is based on one specific game, maybe it's based on kind of all of them mashed together. I truly don't know, and I don't think I want to. You have this kid named Mike, I think.
Of course it's Mike.
Mike something. Played by Josh Hutcherson. And Josh Hutcherson is not a name that I'd heard in a while. It was good to see that Josh Hutcherson is like
still working,
still getting paid money. He hasn't
that's PETA,
been
right?
obliged to. It's exactly. Yeah. It's Peter Millark. Glad to know that he's navigated the turn from flash in the pan, quasi sexy young actor to adult who gets money in movies. Mm-hmm. Good for him. Yeah. Lots of people don't navigate that turn. So he's playing Mike, who is an orphan with a younger sister, Abby, played by Piper Rubio. He also has another brother, I think a twin. It's kind of vaguely expressed, but his brother was kidnapped when they were children. So Mike has this kind of very paranoid feeling about like the damages that are going to be done to children. So he's this kind of overclocked security guard. And in the opening of the movie, he pounces on this guy that he thinks is trying to kidnap a boy from a mall. Turns out it's just the boy's father, who's very annoyed that the boy is kind of being slow moving. So he needs a job. And the only job he can get, because of his checkered past of just flying off the handle and punching people, is the night security guide at a restaurant called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which is a very clear Chuck E. Cheese knockoff. And it's a chain that went out of business many, many years ago, but this one specific location hasn't been bulldozed. And we're told by the highly creepy and very obviously untrustworthy job agent that this is because the owner of the establishment has nostalgia for it for some reason. This is all very, very creepy and weird. So Mike goes there, and he discovers while he's there that the animatronic band, which consists of the bear and a chicken, I believe, and a fox, and there's one other. There's four. There's 4 before there's a rabbit. The rabbit is the 5th one. I don't know. Anyway, so they come to life and they stalk around, and they're weird, but it's not really clear that they're a threat.
Mm-hmm.
And then at a certain point, Mike's aunt, who's played by the very just depressingly overqualified Mary Stuart Masterson, wants custody of the child, the girl, Abby, for some reason. But she's like just this awful train wreck of a human. She smokes and she's vicious and mean. So she basically hires these ne'er-do-wells to go to Freddy Fazbear's and fuck shit up so that Mike gets fired for being a bad security guard. So they go on the 2nd of the 5 nights, right? And the robots kill them and eat them. And so now we have this understanding, like, well, the robots are dangerous. And so one of those ne'er-do-wells was actually the little girl's babysitter. So now Mike has to take the little girl to the place, the restaurant, because he has nothing else to do with her at night. So now she begins bonding with the robots.
Okay.
And that gets us to the 3rd night. And so at this point, I'm just completely lost, because it's like, okay, at first it's not clear that they're sentient, but they are. It's at first not clear that they're hostile, but then they kill the intruders, but then they're super nice to the little girl. And this is all just very strange, and I'm having a very hard time sort of figuring out, am I supposed to be scared?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to be finding this heartwarming? Is it like a situation where I'm 10 and I don't watch scary movies, but this is kind of like a nice, like, not very bloody, not very high stakes way of ushering me into the world of horror movies? Or am I some sort of jaded adult who really enjoys watching these like hyper violent beats of these people getting mangled by these giant robot creatures? Mm-hmm. I could not make heads or tails of this movie. Like, I could tell you like what happens, and partially that's because I did end up reading the Wikipedia synopsis after I saw it, which sort of streamlined it. But like, I can tell you the overall what happened in it, but like not how it goes from scene to scene making that happen. And like half of the movie is Mike being sad and being really just an atrociously bad guardian for his little sister. But also we're clearly meant to understand that the aunt would be a much, much worse guardian. And it's so much family drama. I hated it.
I know I've been doing a lot of affirming sounds, like, mm-hmm, and like, yes, and sure. I honestly, if you right now were like, Carrie, I got $1 million in my pocket, just sort of play back what I just said. I'm penniless. I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, that, none of that makes any sense at all. Like, I think the nonsensicality of it, I know that's a word, you can look it up, makes sense based on your confusion. Like, the whole time you were trying to describe it, your face looked like you were like maybe trying to fart, or like you were confused, or
I had to fucking open the Wikipedia summary midway through that, because I was like, wait, what who's the aunt, and like, where's
none of this makes any sense to
I
me.
was lost.
Yeah, I'm lost on your description.
I have seen movies that are designed to be confusing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I can ride that vibe. I don't know what my experience was supposed to be.
Yeah. No, I feel
don't know
that.
If it was scary. I don't know if it was funny. I don't know who I'm rooting for.
Yeah. Weird. So this one's a skipper as well.
I would say so. I will. I actually have thus far given it the best Letterboxd review of any of my mutuals at a whole whopping 2 stars.
Ooh.
The animatronics are great.
Okay.
Like, if you like creatures in a movie, the animatronics are practical effects. They were built by the Jim Henson's Creature Shop people. They're super cool.
Very cool.
They're creepy. They have glowy eyes. They have glowy eyes with like big like eyebrow type things that like give them all sorts of expressions. They're fun to watch. Mm-hmm. The things they are doing are not fun to watch. But as if you like just remind yourself, I'm watching puppeteers operating this like 7-foot tall rabbit.
It's a little cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm all the way up to a 2-star enthusiastic rave for this complicated nightmare snarl of a movie.
I will not be adding that to the list, and I am going to check with the kids to see if they heard
your
of it.
girls might insist though? Like, I feel like it's a
don't know.
thing. It made like $78 million.
What? Oh my
It made
gosh.
so much, and that was with a day and date release on Peacock, so people could watch it for free on Peacock, or like me, they could just pirate that shit because they're like,
Yeah.
this sounds
I-
like anti-cinema.
terrible.
I'm not paying for this.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm
Don't
asking.
pirate.
them.
It's illegal. I didn't pirate this movie. I went and I paid money to see
You
it
would
because
never
that's
do
the
it.
law.
I'm going to give you
kids.
$5 so that I don't have to watch it. Maybe I won't mention it to my kids because it sounds terrible. But again, lots of money made. So you're right. It's a thing. I think it's a thing in the universe that people are watching. So that is bizarre.
And that's 78 million opening weekend. It's been in theaters for 3 days and it hit 78 million. Like, this is not like it made 78 million over 5 months. It's gonna make like $150 million
I
in the US.
truly don't understand. But thanks for sharing. Thanks for helping me avoid it, if at all possible.
I have nothing but pants. I will say I also caught up with the Pope's Exorcist last weekend. Great picture, loved it. It's on Netflix. You get to see Russell Crowe talk like he's Mario. It's good shit.
All right, good. You recommend that one? Watch it.
I thought it was a hoot. I had a good time with the Pope's Exorcist.
I do like Russell Crowe as a angry
I
old
like
man.
I like Russell Crowe indulging in ethnic stereotypes. I am a simple man
Always.
with simple pleasures.
Always. Well, good. Thanks for the share on that. I love when you hate on these things. A one that you won't hate, and I wish you were there with me, actually. I think I would have preferred you to be there with me over my kids, was Sweeney Todd.
I mean, I'll just tip my hand. Sweeney Todd might be my favorite musical.
Really?
Like, it's on the short list that I would have to consider to answer that question.
Oh, I could see it. So I, going into this, had only seen the movie. So when I was in high school, I'd
hollow version of the show.
Agreed. And I barely remembered it. Tiny rabbit hole. The thing that made this movie even better, I don't think I told you this. I think I randomly told Brennan this. So this is a deep cut, a very deep cut. But maybe 40 episodes ago, it was just Brennan and I had told him that I was going to like dig into a little bit whether or not I maybe had a tiny bit of neurodivergence. And I did find out a while ago that I have like a sprinkling. This is going to come as a shock to you, a tiny sprinkling of ADD. I know you're shocked. So this is the tiny rabbit hole. So maybe like 5 or 6 weeks ago, I was like, I'm going to try and do something about it. So I did. And so I have.
So you've known this for like 2 years and you decided to do something about it like 5 weeks ago.
It wasn't 40 episodes ago. So it was maybe like in the spring, but now I've just now done something about it. And I've been kind of going back and forth on like, is it helping? Is it not helping? There's all these side effects. Like they give you this list of side effects and I have all of them. And like literally if you go through the website, you can all read that. All of them that are on there I have. And I'm like, is this working? Is it worth it? Rob's like, maybe it's not worth it. Is there really that much of an upside? Bring to coming into Sweeney Todd. I had this moment of realization that I have gone to many plays in my life. I used to go to plays with my mom as a kid and whatever. I don't think I've ever truly in my entire 40 years retained a play. Like when I sit down in a situation like that and people are singing and I can kind of understand them and I kind of can't and I'm kind of whatever, I'm thinking about snacks. I'm thinking about, I don't know, maybe something my boyfriend in high school said to me that was mean. My mind goes 1,000 different places. And I'm telling you, in this moment where I was there watching Sweeney Todd, there was not a single thing in the world that was going on other than Sweeney Todd. And it was the most magical thing to be like, I am following this entire thing. Like everything that they're saying, every joke, like when everybody was laughing around me, usually I'm like, I have no idea what they're laughing about. The jokes hit so hard. It's so funny. It's so dark. It's so gruesome. It's so magical. Everything about this play, it was just sort of eye-opening as an adult to finally like truly process, I think, a musical for the first time, which I know sounds so weird, but it was fantastic. My kids didn't really like it that much.
Oh, well, shit on them.
I know. I don't care.
Alice is young for it. Like, I feel like this is a 12 and up show.
It honestly is. It honestly is. So that's what I would say. It was probably a little grim for her. They're pretty into gore and scary things anyway, so they weren't like scared or anything. And I'll tell you, the reason that they wanted to go and the reason we were so excited is their favorite all-time character from Stranger Things is Gaten Marziano. He plays this adorable kid. He's sort of like the nerd in they're all nerds, but he plays this little like curly haired nerd, and he's like so has all these reasons to not be self-confident, but he's like the most self-confident nerd out there, and they love him. And so when we asked them before we went, we were like, if you were to ever meet like one Stranger Things character, who would you want to meet? And they were like, Dustin. And so he's in the musical.
Okay. I assume he's Toby.
Is Toby the son of...
he's the slow little boy who gets adopted. Okay.
Yes. And he is so good. And just to see the magnitude of this performance was just, everybody's obviously a star performer. You're doing this in New York, but like everybody was fantastic. The set pieces are fantastic. The effects were fantastic. Like when they're doing all of the, the bloody scenes and things like that, the way that they depict all of that is just so perfect. And again, just to like get all the little nuanced humor in it. So the baker, the pie maker gal,
love it,
is just pure comedy. And then another element to it was she ended up being like literally 10 minutes before the show, the lady backed out. The main lady backs out.
Oh, so it was the understudy, Mrs. Lovett?
It was the understudy.
Oh, wow.
So on top of it, she stole the show. Hands down, stole the show. She was
one of the things you sometimes see in live theater, especially musicals, understudies tend to steal the show because they don't have to protect themselves for like a week's worth of performances. You see this in opera a lot. Anytime you get an understudy, the opera singer just like wrecks their voice to get that performance over.
And you know what? That's exactly what she did. But then to see, so like I'm such a like emotional freako lately, but to nail this performance, to have it be like one of the best experiences. Well, it is. It's the best like musical theater experience and the musical. And I loved it. But to have this amazing musical theater performance, and then after the show wraps, literally everybody just swarmed her. Like the entire cast just like swarmed her and was just like hugging her and lifting her up. And you're just like, you're like crying in the audience because you're just so proud of these people that you don't know who they are. And
that's live theater. Live theater's a different medium. I'm a movie guy, but live theater does that.
It was something special. And then I would say too, to have a kid in there. So you have all these adults, and to go back and see something like that through kid eyes. So he's on Stranger Things. This kid's made it, but he's in this theater, this theater production. He literally, at the end of the day, he's still a kid. To see him after the show wraps, he had his fists clenched just like a kid would, and they were like shaking with just like excitement, and he was like jumping up and down, like bouncing with just like pure childlike joy. And I was just like, this is the most pure thing I've ever seen, with a million people getting murdered in the last 2 hours.
It is what it is.
It was, again, just one for the memory books. And again, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna deal with the constipation to keep taking these pills if it means.
Absolutely, I love that.
If it means
so obviously you didn't have the Mrs. Lovett who's in the production, but who is the Sweeney?
Would you know who these people are?
It's Sweeney Todd tends to attract two very big actors. Like it tends to always try to get a superstar for both Sweeney and Mrs. Todd.
Oh my gosh, I wish I had this pulled up for you. Hang on. If you give me 2 seconds, I will pull it up. I don't know. He was I wish I knew off the top of my head. He wasn't somebody that I recognized. How would I find out?
I'll Google Sweeney Todd 2023.
He was remarkable as well. Yeah, you look that up and tell me if you know who he is. He was really, really good. And then they had, to your point on the opera side, they had an older gentleman who plays the creepo, the creepo that like...
was it Josh Groban?
Yeah, maybe it was.
Have you not heard of Josh Groban?
I think it was Josh Groban. Okay, this is embarrassing. I do know who Josh Groban is, but I did not place his face until you're literally saying.
Okay, because I was like, because Josh Groban is a famous person.
Oh my gosh, that's embarrassing. I think he's lost some weight. I didn't recognize him. He was very slender. And I think he colored his hair.
I actually would not know Josh Groban on sight, so I can't hold you to account.
I think I would, but now that you're saying that, his face did look like Josh Groban. So it might have been. He was amazing. The old man, like a couple times, just like went into these operatic, like you can tell that he was clearly probably an opera singer when in his younger days too. So it wasn't even like an opera, but he kept like in a couple parts where he just was on his own, he would just go off into these operatic notes and you were just like chilled.
Sweeney Todd is on the short list of like Broadway musicals that are sort of part of the contemporary opera repertoire as well. I actually, the first time I ever saw it staged live was at an opera house. It was at the Lyric Opera of Chicago.
Well, I'm sold. This is like the first musical that I was.
Sweeney Todd's great. I think I've seen it live 4 times at this point. It always works. Like, I don't know if you can fuck up Sweeney Todd unless you have just a catastrophe of a cast.
I guess not.
But like, it's a great time. I'm so glad you got to have this experience.
I know,
Sounds wonderful.
I know. I feel like overwhelmed still kind of thinking about it. I'm still kind of letting it wash over me. It's only like a couple days ago, so I'm still kind of like living in it, but anyway, so it made for a perfect. It overrode all of the, the nudity and the guy peeing that the girl saw on the street and all of that New York brought
us. There's not nudity in Sweeney Todd, but you mean nudity.
No, actually in New York. Yeah, no, there's around the streets. It
only in New York, baby.
I know. So anyway, all in all, good time. So highly recommend it if you can see it. If you haven't seen it, obviously I won't tell you what happens too much, but it is a little dark, is a little gory, but it's all worth it. So
I'm so glad you had that experience. I'm so excited.
I know. Well, thanks for getting together to chat. I know it was a tight week and tight on time, but wanted to share it with you because it was a good week. So good catching up with you. And thank you all for listening in with us and joining us as well. We hope you have a good week. In closing, we want to thank you guys for joining us. We want to thank you for following us on our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and following our content and reviews on alternateending.com. And if you'd like to join us for future trivia nights or movie club watch parties, Tim won the last one, spoiler alert. Don't also then forget about Patreon. We'll catch you next time.